when I was like a kid, when I was younger, I, and younger as in like, I don't know, I was like in eighth grade or something. I used to be so terrified of being depressed, but not for the typical reasons of like, oh, I'm sad, like it sucks. But in my head, I was like, I can't afford to be depressed. Like, I can't afford it. I can't afford to stop to like not work because at the time I was working insane as a kid. Um, but I was like,
13.
no, yeah, yeah. I was like, I can't afford to be depressed. Like, I have to keep the company running. I have to do all this shit. And that stemmed from like, it's
At 13 is crazy.
I don't know, dude. Okay, because I did, okay.
I see why you're the way that you
You see it all? Is all making sense? No, because genuinely though, because this, okay, the big thing about this episode is how do you deal with your adult responsibilities while fucking dealing with mental illness and mental health issues? And so for me, I remember the first time that I experienced some sort of depression was, I think like fifth and sixth grade, elementary school. Maybe it was puberty, the hormones, your body's a mess. And so I remember just feeling really sad. And yeah, definitely that feeling of like, oh, I wish I was not alive. So, it's light work for a sixth grader to deal with. And I remember hating that feeling.
That's not funny. That's not funny. But it's just like I've heard different reiterations of this, and it's just like it just gets me every time.
It's just insane, no?
It's insane.
It's like actually insane.
I'm sorry. I'm not. Yeah.
No, I get you. And that's the thing. Like, I like that this is something that I can laugh about now because there is a sense of coping with humor. The insanity of this shit.
I'm a big advocate of coping with humor.
No, let's talk
you
about
need
it
to
though.
make light of certain things,
Yeah.
or else it's just so overwhelming and burdening.
Because it's like how they say, like, oh, comedians are usually like so sad, but they just deal with it by like laughing about it. Because what else are you supposed to do?
Cry.
Actually, though, there's only so many tears left to cry. Isn't that a song?
And so many giggles. Oh, Ariana Grande. Yeah.
No, but yeah, I remember just feeling so sad. And ever since then, when I finally overcame it through like, I think by like exercising. I started eating healthier. I started exercising, going to the gym. And like, I think those little steps really helped me like overcome it. But after that, I got this fear of, oh my God, like I don't ever want to feel that again because it's so debilitating, like you can't get up, you have no motivation, you're sad, life feels meaningless. And the fear that I had was, bro, like if I get depressed again, especially now when like we have this company and like we have projects and responsibilities, I don't know how I'm going to be able to handle all these responsibilities if I'm sad. And I think I remember for you, the first glimpse of this that I remember you actually talking about was like, when you were in school and you had a family member pass away.
Yeah, that's crazy because I was just thinking about sophomore year of high school and I was like, ooh, that was a dark time. Yeah. That was not a cute or fun time. And what's funny is thinking of when I was younger, like maybe like middle school and even high school, I was always so hesitant or wary to use the words depression or anxiety because I felt that I was just hearing a lot of that and I'm like, are these buzzwords? like what does that mean? Like is
Right.
depression just being really extremely sad? Is
And
it
how old were you?
like 15?
Okay.
like 15 around there. And so I myself didn't even fully know like what is depression exactly? How does that differ from extreme sadness? Or does it not differ from extreme sadness? And same with anxiety too. Like, is anxiety just feeling worried or nervous all the time? Like, I mean, now that I'm older, I'm like, so I was depressed.
Wait, really?
So I think
like at what age? Sophomore year?
like sophomore year, I think it was more than just like having somebody close to me pass. It was also just, I think things just stacked up really badly sophomore year.
It happens in sophomore year, bruh. It does
To
happen.
all my sophomore students in high school, I'm so sorry.
Praying for you. It's tough.
Praying for you guys. But it does worry me, like being or going through a tough time, especially when there's so much to do. And that's what I've been experiencing recently. I've had like kind of a major shift in like things outside of work that have really made it so hard to put my best foot forward. But the way that I think about it is like, I can't afford to not do it.
Can't afford to stop.
Like I can't afford to stop. Like, yes, I'm sad right now and like things are happening, but I have no choice but to keep going, which is good, but also bad, because I feel like I don't have time to like fully process what's going on or like be there, you know, in certain areas of my life. Ugh, this sounds so corny, but it's like growing up, you know, like I wasn't, you know, I wasn't in a necessarily like the best environment for me to be expressing my feelings and it be received with like, sweetie, it's okay. It's more like go to
I wish
church.
I had a little Drew Barrymore moment when they could
Literally.
really,
Like I just wanna be helped. No, I'm just kidding.
Helped.
But you know, and I think growing up with that, it obviously makes me feel like less inclined to like share with somebody when I'm first going through something. So I think at first I can shut people out, but at the same time, I'm also like, I love chatting.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I feel like there's so many moments where, like, I feel like you don't share unless you're asked.
Yes, because that's another thing. I was like, oh, I don't want it to make it about me.
I hate a bitch that does that. Because I'm just like, guys.
Because also it's like, oh, how do you bring up that, like, I'm going through something really, like...
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I just yap. Like, I'm
think
like,
so,
guys,
too.
you know what happened
Yeah.
to me? And sometimes I'm like, oh, I wish you would just bring it up on your own because I don't want to intrude by asking about what you're feeling and then risk, you know, it's like, I'd rather if they could just, you know, tell me. And I actually think this is also really relevant in, not just in your personal life, but in your career. Because as I've gotten more and more experience working with, like, you know, in a more professional setting, a lot of the emotional intelligence plays such a big role, I think, in how you interact with people, maybe possibly like getting a raise or like whatever. Because one, you have to learn how to stand up for yourself when it's needed, both personally and professionally. And so it's interesting because I saw this video of this woman that was called out on a Zoom meeting with a bunch of team members.
Oh, really?
And the manager was like, hey, Emma, like, did you get me this thing? And because I haven't got it yet. And she's like, and I really need you to get that to me. So could you please get it to me? And she's like, oh, did Ryan not send it to you? And she's like, and then the manager was like, no, let's take it offline. And then, okay, sorry. The reason is because when she first called her out, she was like, hey, Emma, by the way, I still haven't got that thing from you. Can you please get that to me? Anyways, guys, thank you so much. So kind of like a call out, but didn't give her enough time to respond. But then the other girl was like, oh, no. Like, I thought I sent it. You should have got it because I sent it over. I did my part. And then the manager was like, no, let's take this offline. Oh, let's take this offline. Anyways, bye, guys. And she was like, no, wait. Like, you were willing to call me out in front of all these people, but now you're not willing to acknowledge that you were wrong and I actually didn't do anything wrong in front of all these people and you want to do it offline. And it was one of those situations where the worker like stood up and was like, hey, it's not fair for you to make me look bad in front of all these coworkers and make it seem like I'm irresponsible and I'm not doing my job, and then not give me a chance to, one, defend myself and then also acknowledge that you were the one that was wrong. And that's one of those moments where I think, like, would I have been able to do that? Or would I have been too scared to, like, feel like I don't have a right to be upset, or be like, no, I'm upset, but let me calm myself down. I don't want to react on anger. But the thing is, like, sometimes using your anger and expressing the emotions you feel in the moment without taking time to express yourself leads to showing people, hey, this is something I am actually really upset about.
Mm-hmm. And I think specifically in workplace dynamics too, it can be harder because of the power dynamics at play.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, like, they're my superior, they're my boss, you know, they're at a higher position than me. And it just makes it a lot harder to, like, voice, you know, like, oh, that was not okay or whatever. And I think a lot of the times too, like, bosses or like people in positions of power in workplaces, I feel like most of the time they don't care enough to be like, like, oh, I'm so sorry about that. Like,
Yeah.
sweetie, how are you feeling? Like,
Yeah.
they're not checking in on you like that. And like, not that they have to or they don't, I don't really know. But I think that's what makes it so much harder to talk about mental health, like when you are in a workplace setting, because it's also seen as a taboo thing. It's like back to that crying thing. I think crying and then also like telling somebody that you're like depressed or going through a hard time or like dealing with anxiety, it often results in similar reactions all the time. It's like, oh, she needs help. Like, oh, like maybe you should talk.
Pity,
Yeah,
pity.
exactly. And it's like,
Yeah.
damn, just hear me out. Like, just listen to what I'm saying,
And yeah, it's also like, it's so beneficial when you can express your emotions in work because I think it also helps you bond with people. I think coworkers appreciate that vulnerability to be like, hey, I'm having a really rough day or I'm so stressed, because then it's like, oh, we're all in this together. And yes, it depends on the workplace dynamic and such, but like sometimes I feel like what prevents me from connecting deeply with people as quickly as others is how willing I am to be open about the emotions I'm feeling in this moment. And I think when I'm around teammates that are very expressive and they can express themselves, anger, sadness, whatever, comfortably, it makes me feel safer for me to do the same. So I really do admire the people that can do that, because it's like, if you can express yourself, then it gives me permission to also talk about how I'm feeling in the moment. So I'm just really trying to do that more. I think it honestly is such a good trait to have. Again, yes, in your career, but also personally. Like, anger is a tool and it should be used accordingly. And your emotions, like, they're valid. And oftentimes you just have to express how you feel.
And I think also too, like with coworkers, I feel that in certain jobs, it's discouraged for you to like, like be buddy buddy with like the people that you're working with, but you're there like so much of your time.
You should get along.
You should get along, make it more enjoyable, And I think it's also like a part of me feels that it's also like a capitalism thing where it's like you're not supposed to be friends with the people that you work with. You're supposed to be working, like no distractions, like blah blah blah. But
Yeah.
say hi to your colleagues. Ask them how their weekend was. Ask them how they're feeling.
Like, the thing about careers and work is that it's also just so hard. Like, you need those people there, or else it's hard to be motivated to continue to do the work. And for me, I feel like it's different as well, because I've never had a traditional job in the sense of, I'm going to the office, I'm having my coworkers, I have someone telling me what to do. It's always like I have to do my own thing. And like, going back to that point of mental health, is that like sometimes I don't have the motivation to do the work because I'm struggling. And I feel like it is so difficult to deal with something like that, because when you're your own boss in that way, it makes it so difficult to balance taking care of your mental health, but also having the pressure of like, but I need to work, versus being in a corporate job where it's so easy to like, you kind of have no option. It's like you have to just go do your work whether you're feeling up for it or not.
I think also sometimes reaching the point of, I'm going through a really hard time and I can't do my work. In some cases, I feel like it's an accumulation of just like not making time for like self-care or like going out and like doing some hobbies or just like going outside, meeting friends. Like, when we're so consumed in work and we don't make time for anything else, I think it's only natural that you're going to reach the point where you can't do your work because you're working so much.
Honestly, yeah, that happens to me a lot, I think, because sometimes I'm just like, I realize like I wake up, I don't really see anyone, especially for me. And I think also now that so much of work is like virtual and remote, if you don't go into the office, you might not see anyone the entire week. It's just you. And if you live alone, it's just you or your parents, whoever you live with. And I realize that is the case for me. And there's so many moments where I'm like, oh my God, this whole week, it's just been me waking up, working on my computer, and then next day. It's insane. And I struggle with burnout or I don't know if it's burnout. I don't know what it is, but there's these moments where I talked to my therapist about this, and it sucks because as we were like kind of figuring out the issue, I had to switch therapists. It was so annoying, but
Message her on Instagram.
no, literally.
Can we take this offline?
Actually, can we offline this? Actually, though, no. And the issue that we were working through was that I had a lot of moments where one day I would wake up and everything made sense. And I've told you this, that like, oh, suddenly everything makes sense. I feel like I know how to take this company or this project to the next level. I know how to like, I know what's next. I know the steps I need to take. And because, you know, we're working on our own company and it's kind of like up to us to decide how we want to take it, you need to have that mental clarity to know this is what I need to do. And there's a lot of moments where I would have that. And then I would spend weeks just like incredibly productive. Like, oh my gosh, I'm getting all this done. I'm sending this out. I'm managing everything so well. And then one day I would just wake up and nothing made sense anymore. And it would just crash. Like suddenly I felt so nihilistic about my work. I'm like, this is stupid. This is meaningless. It's never going to work. I don't want to do it. I'm scared. And I would wake up with so much anxiety and stress and fear. I was just like so pessimistic. Like, I hate what I'm doing. I want to delete everything. I want to start over. This is terrible. And I never understood why that happened, because I would have those moments of good and then the moments of bad just came in so suddenly. And every time that happened, I was like, oh my God, no, like it's happening again. Because then I honestly felt like I had no choice but to just let it pass. I didn't know what else I could do with it because the mental clarity just wasn't there. If I had like a corporate job, then maybe I would know like, okay, I have my to-do list. I can push through it because I can just kind of go into like autopilot. But in this case, I couldn't, because if I don't have that mental clarity and if I don't feel like I have a good direction, then, you know, I'm just going to go in circles. And so that's the biggest struggle that I have when it comes to balancing work and my mental health, is those cycles of motivation versus absolute burnout. And I don't know how to balance it. I mean, I've tried taking it slow, taking more breaks, socializing more. I don't know. And for me, my theory is like maybe just having more people around, you know, like when you're not working alone and you have a teammate. I think that does help, but that's just one of the things that I'm still trying to figure out.
The thing with like coping with stress and then work, it's so weird, and I feel like this is pretty ironic, but like right now, during this period in our life, work is a lot. It's picking up. And you would think that right when I need it most, I would be actively doing my self-care routines.
Yeah.
But that's when I stop. Like, make it make sense, y'all.
Yeah.
Can somebody connect the dots?
Yeah.
But it's like for example, like going to the gym. Like I would do that like consistently just because like, you know, I like how I feel when I go to the gym. And then things start getting busy and I'm like, well, it looks like I'm not going to the gym. And then I'm like, oh, I wonder why I feel like shit.
See, that's why you
know?
have to
like,
just make it such a non-negotiable.
I know.
Which is, sometimes it's impossible to do, but yeah.
But it can't be impossible if it's a non-negotiable.
Yeah. You just,
like you have to squeeze.
you got to reframe that, like, if I don't do this, I die.
Oh.
Because realistically, if you knew if you don't do it, you die, you probably wouldn't be able to do it.
Well, when you put it that way, Jesus, I do a lot of things with that mindset.
No, yeah, right? I don't know.
God.
Maybe that's the most we can do.